Millions of bees are now spread out across valley almond orchards as a part of the world's largest controlled pollination.
That's right, but many of those bees came from out of state. Just yesterday, a commercial beekeeper in Madeira received a shipment of between 600 and 700 of them from as far away as Florida. Fox 26, your hometown news connection reporter Amisha Ramsey was there as workers unloaded the bees. And Amisha, those bees very important to pollinate our valley crops.
If you love almonds,
Yeah.
really love almonds,
I do.
I do.
I do.
In the month of February into March, when the almonds in the Central Valley are blossoming, 2 million of the 3 million commercial colonies in the United States are in the Central Valley. If you go up and down I-5 during the summer, you can see pallets full of bees.
The almond bloom is a mass crop pollination event as far as honeybees go. California is known to make 80% of the world's almonds, and those are all growing on trees. And so it's this mass blooming event that happens every year in February. And that blooming event requires a lot of honeybees to do the job. Over 60% of all honeybees in the US have to be trucked into the Central Valley in California, where all these almonds are grown, in order to pollinate these trees. And the bloom only lasts for about a month, and then there's nothing much left.
In February and March, most other insects are on the hibernating or in their winter mode, whereas the bees, you can feed them, which gets them more active. You can give them protein, artificial protein pollen patties, which gets them laying, so they can kind of force their activity in November, December, January, so you can bring them out to the Central Valley, and the beekeepers make a lot of money on it. So it becomes something of a feedlot for bees.
The demand for almonds is only increasing. Ecologically, it has quite a large impact. You go and you see these petals falling in as this beautiful environment for a moment, but then you kind of tune into the fact that you don't even hear birds, you know? Like you don't hear other life really in these, when you're really deep in this area where it's just this one monocultural crop. There's definite evidence of honeybees being really strong competitors and outcompeting native bees in their habitat and kind of driving native bees out. Recently, bumblebees were trying to be listed as endangered in California by the state, and in part the Almond Control Board had some lawyers involved that sort of squashed that.
I'm not going to say they don't care about the bees, they're trying to make a living, but the system of agriculture that we have in the United States, which benefits us all, I guess that's just one piece of it. And it is hard on the bees, just like a feedlot is hard on animals.
Commercial farming, you've probably seen where they move vast quantities of bees on semi-trailer trucks, and they move them all over the country. So these poor bees are living this sort of, there's no home for them. They just move from place to place to place, and of course the death rate amongst those bees is extremely high, and you can imagine it's like living out of a suitcase, right? It really is like a form of slavery. You're moving these bees around, you make them work, you make them do stuff, you make them live where there's pesticides and herbicides, and then you move them to another farm, you pack them up and move them again. They don't have a home, they don't know where it is, and of course they die quickly. Now you can see that one's she's got some little seeds or something stuck to her, and this one does too. So they've been out gathering, and they're. Oh, you found the queen.
Yeah, if you could hold it on this side, or on the bees.
The bees work for me on the farm, right? And so they live here. I don't transport them. With all the pollutants in the environment, we don't have hives that last 4 years anymore, but most of my colonies last at least 2 years, sometimes 3, and that's probably because, I mean, if you look at the environment they have here, and it's stable, and they don't get transported, you know, they're happier. I think they're happier. I say they are.
Could I hold it first?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of bees.
It's actually a very small amount of bees, but it's nice.
It's the most bees I've ever held.
Yeah.
They smell good.
They do. There's a very distinct aroma of beehive.
It smells like beeswax.
Uh-huh. These are little pieces of beeswax, honeycomb that they've started.
It's amazing. How long have you had this hive?
Well, we've had hives here for 10 years, but they are always evolving because we're, you know, just like he's doing, we're combining, we're moving. So the longest I've ever had a hive is about 4 years. Most of them don't last that long now.
Mm-hmm.
These are all girls here. These are all honeybees.
Okay.
These are the ones that work outside.
The drones all stay inside?
Drones, yeah. The women do all the work in a hive. Each female bee is producing maybe a half a teaspoon of honey in her lifetime. So when you go to the store and you get a giant jar of honey, you think about how many bees died to get you that. We have all these expectations, right? The whole concept of, you know, bees are there as a honey machine for me. Check your own expectations. How are you judging things? Is it what you know or what you've been taught?
There's one thing I've been thinking about recently, and it's not necessarily my own ideas, or they didn't originate with me, but bees do shape the landscape around us. And it's most obvious with apple trees, for example. An apple tree, to produce fruit, which means to produce seeds and to propagate, needs another apple tree around so they can pollinate each other. Otherwise, the apples don't produce. The apple tree won't produce any apples. And it's the bees that pollinate those two trees. So just like humans that are modifying their environment, the bees can do that too in their own way. If they didn't have bees, the apple trees, they wouldn't be able to pollinate. They wouldn't be able to thrive like they can otherwise with the bees pollinating things.
You can come in here and see the ones that are completely green. Those are the females. And there's ones that, twisting this around, the ones that have stripes on their butts and yellow banding, those are the males. So this is an Agapostan sweat bee. They are often this metallic green, and so I thought that would make it a really good model shot for this. The honeybee is just one species out of so many, and in California there's actually over 1,600 species of native bees described so far, and there's over 20,000 species of bees in the world. So to be focused on honeybees is funny because there's just so many other species of bees that are out there, and they can also help with all these crop pollination events. They can be providing these free pollination resources and are actually doing an even better job than honeybees can do.
What do you think the reason is for the focus on honeybees?
Just because of how they're used in agriculture. That's it.
So it's an economic.
Economics, 100%.
when you think about it, even any berry, even if it's not just apples, but if an animal eats any seed, or a fruit with any seed in it, and then goes off and defecates, the animal is essentially farming for the future. They're bringing those seeds around, they're spreading them out. There'll be more of it in the future. That's what farmers do. They save some of the seeds and they plant them again. Just like any non-industrial agriculture, they can't control the environment. So having the extra stores allows them to survive during the years when there is a drought.
I think that insects are the winning life strategy as far as animals go. I think that they're going to outlive us by a million years.
Maybe they're greedy like humans, just trying to want more and more and more.
You can't really think of a honeybee as an individual. That is not what a honeybee as a species is. It is this full colonial organism.